This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Hello and welcome to Moments with Foo. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, but you can call me Foo, hence the name of the segment. And today I have Neal Taparia, or Taparia, sorry. We practiced this and I still got it wrong. But he is the co-founder of Unwind Media, and I'm gonna let him tell you more about that. But first, Neal, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
No, thanks for taking the time. You have a very interesting entrepreneurial journey. That's why I wanted to have you here, so you can share that with the audience. So let's start with a quick introduction, what you do and why.
Sure. So I've been a entrepreneur for some time. I started my first business in high school where we created some writing subscription software. I ended up growing that after college to be a multi-million-dollar business, which we sold to a public company called Chegg. And then after that, my business partner and I, from the same business, who's a close friend, we started a gaming business called Unwind Media, where our goal is to take classic games and find a way to make them more engaging. And today that business gets over 4 million games played a day.
And I get that, you said that you want to make them more engaging, but what's the why behind that? Like, why that and not other thing?
Yeah, so we were looking at new opportunities after we sold our first business on where we can create a new compelling business. And because we were in the education space, we thought there was some interesting opportunity to take games and gaming ideas and integrate that with education to make education more engaging. But when the pandemic hit, we just found that there was such a large need for games that we decided to focus on games alone. And in the space that we develop games, which are classic games like Solitaire and Hearts and word games, we just found that there wasn't much innovation happening in the space. So we thought there was an opportunity to create very good games and find new ways to market them and get people to play them.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and that's why I kind of want to emphasize that why, because it coming from creating EasyBib and then selling it to Chegg, I was a student right before entering into this entrepreneurial journey, so I knew about Chegg, and I think I even I might have used EasyBib too without even knowing that it was from you, and then like when this happened and I connected with you, I was like, wow, like I didn't even know that you were behind this when I was in college, looking for answers and stuff, and I found those things. So that transition into board games, I thought that was like pretty interesting, because I mean, nobody has ever mentioned to me ever like, oh yeah, board game seems like a good business. So that's what I was like asking about, that why.
Yeah, one of our theses too, when starting and looking at new business opportunities was, where are places that potentially seem boring, where no one's paying attention to, and that's kind of how we started honing in on classic games. We just didn't see much happening in the space, but when you research it further, there's just a lot of people playing these games, and that's what got us excited about the business opportunity.
That's awesome. That's awesome to know, and something very different. So for my audience here, I think they're gonna be like, what? Like, and he's successful at doing that now. Like, I gotta find, literally, it's just committing to something and finding out an area that there's opportunity for innovation, like you did. So
Exactly.
Thanks for sharing that. And now I want to ask you about a challenge that taught you something that you think is worth sharing with the audience.
Yeah, well, I mean, generally speaking, the businesses we've started end up reaching millions of people. So naturally, you have to think about, well, how do you get people to start using your products? And then later on, how do you get people to use them at scale? So I think when I started both of these businesses, we had to ask ourselves, how do we get the first user, the next 100 users, the next 1,000 users? And, the big challenge there is just really to start doing something. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get stuck with just building product because that's easy, but getting people and convincing them to use it is very hard. So I remember with EasyBib, I did everything I could possibly think of to get people to use that product. I went into AOL chat rooms, which were really popular back then, and started telling people about our services. I remember flyering my schools. I even put flyers in the bathrooms of the schools.
That's a good
I
one.
would find email addresses of teachers and email them. And then, as a 16-year-old, I emailed the Chicago Tribune saying we're students helping students. And they bid on that idea. They came over to my house the next day and snapped some pictures. And before we knew it, we were on the front page of the business section of the Chicago Tribune. So, with each of these businesses, it's just a challenge to get it off the ground. But the biggest takeaway I've had is you just got to do your best. And then hopefully you'll learn and adjust and you'll find ways to grow the business from there. But you just have to take the leap. And that's the biggest challenge that we face and that I imagine a lot of entrepreneurs face.
Yeah, with that on that note, got me thinking about this is a video that I made about the best business advice that I can give somebody that I got from David Meltzer is just stay in business, especially in the beginning. Just stay in business and you'll figure out along the way. And for me, it's something that I've been living because I've had so many struggles with who to trust and how to do things, and just coming up into the PR space alone, it comes with challenges of unpredictability and all that stuff additional to just the foundation of any business. So for me, yeah, it's been a lot of just kind of like you said, I just started out and I just focus a lot on how can I get people to understand that they need this, right? And how do I drive traffic? That's what I focus a lot, and that's why I like the PR. And that's why I committed to that. So yeah, it's definitely a great advice, and it is the biggest challenge, and which it goes back to just the biggest challenge when, especially in the first 2 years, just staying in business.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You gotta keep persevering and find a way to be successful.
Yeah, it definitely it's the biggest challenge. But if you manage to stay in business, then and do well and give a lot of value to people, then from there you find the connections. As long as you stay active, like even going to chat rooms, going to emails. The bathroom part, it really resonated with me because when we were in the Air Force, I was part of like some projects on how to deliver information, and bathroom was one of the top ones because
Right.
you put it in the bathroom, people actually read it because they
Yeah,
don't have nothing to
that was my logic. I remember putting flyers above the urinal because I knew whoever was there would pay attention because there was nothing else there to consume their attention, and that was the idea behind it.
Yeah, and you did great. So, now I wanted to ask you if you have, based on this, you already kind of touching on this a little bit, but do you have any other advice that you would like to give to either business owners in general or for your younger self if you were to restart this journey?
Yeah. So, some general advice I would give is, to keep things simple. It's really easy to overcomplicate, product ideas, but, in the spirit of what I just said before, you just want to get a product out there to see if someone will use it. I just see, especially I've done this myself, having launched or trying to launch other businesses, you overthink the opportunity and the product that's needed. But what you're really trying to do when you're starting a business is just learn. So I am a huge advocate of encouraging people just to get something out there to learn as fast as possible and to embrace failure. Because when you get something out there and it fails, that's actually a good thing because it's a learning opportunity. You'll understand why you failed, but that'll give you more ideas on how to succeed. So when you take a longer time to fail by overthinking or overcomplicating, you're basically postponing your success. And oftentimes there's real constraints like time and money. So the faster you fail, the better you keep things simple, the more of a chance you'll have to succeed. So I've definitely made that mistake in the past, but over time we've become much better at focusing on what really matters and how to achieve maximum learnings. And that's made a big difference as we've started numerous businesses at this point. And then I'd say the other thing to think about is, focus on things that are big enough to matter. You can work on ideas or even features that just won't move the needle. So you have to ask yourself, if I do this, is this going to make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things? So how do you focus your time and efforts on what's really big enough to matter in your business and your journey?
Yeah, I agree with those 2 points. Definitely, I've been focusing on the wrong thing sometimes, and I caught myself, and I always think about that. It's like, is this moving the needle? Like, is this the thing that I should be doing? And I stop myself and think about that all the time. So definitely something to keep in mind, and to really just don't fall into like, oh, I need to make this perfect too, right? Like you were saying about just kind of get out there, get the minimum viable product and test the market. Does the market wants it, right? Because if you spend all this time on making it perfect and then the market doesn't want it, then what does it matter? Your perfect product to your opinion if the market doesn't want it. So definitely something to keep in mind every time that you're doing any business venture, really.
Yeah, yeah, and we stumbled into that naively because our first product, EasyBib, we started it as a fun thing, a fun side hustle high school project, and we weren't interested in building something fancy. We just wanted to build something for ourselves that people would use. So we built this citation generation tool over the course of 2 months. That's all it took us to build it, and we immediately found out that there was a lot of value in the product because kids wanted to use it. And then we just expanded from there.
Great. That's a great way to minimum viable product, test it out. Oh, actually, people want more. Now let me make it better. Let me add the bells and whistles type stuff, right? To
Yeah.
things to make the features, like you say, like to make it better. But first, like, does people even want it, right? So that's a big point. So based on this conversation, and all the things that we cover, and maybe things that we didn't cover, what do you think are your biggest takeaways that you would like to leave the audience of business owners, entrepreneurs, or wannabe entrepreneurs?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway along with what I said is you got to take risks if you want to make it as an entrepreneur. It's easy to stay in your day to day, but ultimately you're betting on yourself. So you have to make the leap. And then B, once you make the leap, you have to be very smart with the way you spend your time, because I think that's the biggest constraint. So once you decide that there's an idea to pursue, it's all about, maximizing your learnings. If you're giving yourself 6 months to start a business, how do you spend that time in a way where you can get a product out there and where you can find if your idea has some legs or not? And then just to take everything as a big learning, because you're unlikely to be successful the first time around. If you are, that's fantastic. It might give you a sense of false confidence, but learn, and then continue to iterate until you find your footing and have, a good business. The other takeaway that has been huge for us is, surround yourself by awesome people, whether it be an incredible business partner or your first employees. When you're starting a business, it's sink or swim. So if you have dead weight as part of your boat, that's gonna prevent you from ultimately becoming successful. So partner with the right people, and it can super accelerate your chances for success. I was super lucky because I had a friend from high school who's an extremely intelligent person, Darsh. We worked really well together, and as a result, we've just had a lot of chemistry building the businesses that we've built.
Yeah, that's those 2 points I kind of want to add on. Like, you will fail if you're gonna start something new. You never done, but you will fail. Like, and you gotta accept that and fail fast. That's kind of you kind of touch on it earlier, and I cannot stress this enough. Just take a bunch of calls. just start doing it. Just to get into the reps. You will fail. You will suck at first. So just might as well just get through it fast. Just talk to a lot of people, as many people as you can, and get the messaging. Like, record all your calls that you can, and then just like, what did I say? Damn, I should have said this differently. Just kind of, you say, like, just keep doing it until you figure it out. And after you have figured it out, it's like, okay, I got this fire started now. Like, this is something that people want. Now you can put some fuel into that fire and to make it bigger and better. So that's one thing about like the failure. And then the last point that you really touch on that I really like to add on more is, when you're starting out, it's good to have like a great partner like you had, Darj, and get like the first employees. But even first, we'd say that before that is to just be part of a community, at least first, right? Like, be part of a community that you maybe be able to find that first person, because sometimes you don't have a friend in your school, or you don't have a friend like next to you that will be perfect for a partner, but that doesn't mean that you can't find them, right? And in the internet, sometimes it's scary and everything to find who to trust. But if you got into the right communities, you increase your chances to getting someone like that. Or just even the support of the whole engaged community could be a lot to help you get off the ground. That's what I've been doing. I don't have a co-founder, or I don't have a partner necessarily, but I surrounded myself to people like Jason Miller, or like now my first couple of employees, like Steve and Joe Beck, and all the people that I've surrounded myself with, and it has been just by first looking up for a community. After you look for a community, then start looking for more people around it, like-minded individuals, and slowly but surely I started basically kind of recruiting my support network, right? And plugging myself in by adding value to them too, not just asking. So yeah, that's kind of like what I wanted to add to that last point that you made about the support. So thank you for taking the time really to be here. You have a very interesting story. It's very different than anybody else that's been here in my podcast, or anybody else that I know of. So, to be honest, so thanks for taking the time and giving your story a little bit and some advice for entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. So one last thing is, if people want to learn more about what you're doing, maybe be part of your team, or just curious about more about what you do, how can people find you?
Yeah, you could look me up on LinkedIn and just send me a message there, and I'll get back to you.
Perfect. LinkedIn is definitely a great way to connect with most people. That's something I'm gonna include the link of your LinkedIn in the description. I always like to say just Neal Taparia, or Taparia. So I keep getting it wrong.
The latter works.
Yeah. So maybe a little challenging, but if not, links are gonna be in the comments. So just check it out. Thanks for taking the time to come here, and I hope that this helps at least one person in a good way.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. This is Foo and Neal signing off.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Foo with your host, Foo. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.